Fathers, we have a powerful assignment, and that is to bless our children. In the story that we read this morning, it is Isaac bestowing his blessings on Jacob. The blessing was intended actually for the eldest son, Esau. But because of deception, the blessing was given instead to Jacob. Isaac and Rebekah had twin sons, Esau and Jacob. And they were not identical twins. Esau, he was the rough and the ready and the hairy person, loved outdoors, loved hunting, loved fishing. But Jacob was more the homeboy and spent a lot of time at home with his mom. As Isaac grew old, he felt it was time now to give the blessing to the eldest son. The eldest son is the son who would assume the leadership, who would assume the responsibilities of the family and of the tribe. And so, for that reason, the eldest son received a double portion of the blessing, because it's not only for him, but he also assumed the leadership of the family. So, imparting a blessing upon the eldest son, and in fact upon all the children, was very important. So Isaac calls Esau in verses 2 and 4, and he says, okay, I'm now getting old. I don't know when I'm going to die. So go quickly, get an animal, kill it, prepare it. You know the way how I like it. And after I've eaten, I will give you my blessing. Esau leaves quickly, and when he's gone, Rebekah seizes the opportunity to secure the blessing for the other son, Jacob, her favorite son. She quickly prepares something tasty and tells Jacob that he should put on Esau's clothes. And to help fool the old Isaac, she put goat skin on Jacob, on his hands and around his neck, so that he would feel hairy. And she sends him in with the food to his father to receive the blessing. In verse 19, Jacob says to his father as he enters, now Jacob is speaking, and he says, I am Esau. I am your firstborn, and I've done what you've told me to do. Please sit up, eat some of my game, and you may give me your blessing. Isaac, the old man, his eyes are dim, but his ears are still good, and he hears a voice that doesn't sound like Esau's voice. And he questions the voice. And he says, how did you find this animal, this game, so quickly? And Jacob replies, the Lord your God gave me success. Now we won't go into all the ramifications and the lies and the deceit, because we want to get to the blessing today. In verse 21, Isaac says to Jacob, come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are Esau or not. So he was still suspicious, wasn't quite sure. But he thought, well, he knew the difference between the two sons. One was hairy and one with smooth skin. One was a homeboy and the other one loved to be outside. So if he could just smell them and touch them, he would be able to tell, he figured out. So Jacob goes close to his father, Isaac, and the father touches him, and he says, the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. Verses 27 to 29 tells us about the blessing. So he Jacob went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of heaven's dew and of earth's riches an abundance of grain and new wine. Many nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." After Jacob received the blessing from his father, Jacob left, and shortly thereafter Esau comes in with his game and with the food, and he presents it to his father, and he says, "Now bless me, Father." And Isaac realized something went wrong somewhere. Verses 33 and 34, Isaac trembled violently, and he said, "Who is this then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me. Me too, my father, bless me." Blessing is important. Having the blessing of a father or even an adult is very important. And we want our parents, we want our spouses, we want our children, we want our friends, we want our co-workers to bless us and to say good things about us, to tell us how much we mean to them. And can you imagine the cry of this young man? A cry, he cried bitterly, loudly, because he knew what he was going to miss. As Brother Lawrence was sharing, the father's blessing in Jewish families was extremely important. As he pronounced those words over his children, they came to pass. He spoke blessings into their lives. And I believe that that cry of Esau, when he missed the blessing, can be heard even today. There are children who are crying and longing for the blessings of their fathers. There are children who just want to hear from their father, "I love you. You're doing a good job. I'm there for you." There's a cry that our children are sounding forth. In St. Martin, there are lots of children crying. They haven't received the blessings from their fathers. Fathers ignore them. Fathers are too busy. Fathers don't understand because they have never been fathered themselves. Fathers, if you're here today, make sure that you relate to your children and you talk to your children and you tell them what they can become and who they are. They are special. Your sons and your daughters are special. Don't ever let them wonder about it. And that's why our sons and our daughters are going to other places and gangs and all over the place, trying to be validated because fathers haven't done that. In a book written by Dr. Gary Smalley called The Blessing, he examines the blessing that Isaac bestowed upon Jacob. And he was able to see 4 main ingredients. And very quickly, I want to share those with you today. 4 ingredients in this blessing that we just read. And if those ingredients are absent in the home, then too often the child ends up like Esau, bitter, angry. We know what happened to Esau after that. There was this rage in him, and he wanted to kill his brother. His brother had to flee from the home. So we want to just look quickly at these 4 ingredients. Number 1, verse 22. Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him. Ingredient number 1 in the blessing is a touch. Brother Lawrence said it. Put your hands on the heads of the children. Touch them. Touch is important. Almost every blessing that we read of in the Bible, it's accompanied by touch or laying on of hands, a kiss or an embrace. And this conveys acceptance. It conveys love. It conveys you are important. I care about you enough to be close to you. How many daughters need their father's touch, their father's embrace, and they don't get it, so they go and look for it elsewhere. In Mark chapter 10, people brought their children to Jesus so that he could touch them. He took them, placed them on his knee, laid his hands upon them, and the scripture says he blessed them. He knew exactly what the children needed. Children need to be touched. Research has proved that babies who are not touched and who are not cuddled and who are not loved, they often die. And children who are not touched and loved and cuddled, they become frail and weak, and something happens in their emotional development. So fathers, it's very important that you touch your children. When children are very small, you can tell them you love them, but touch them and hug them and hold them. That's what they understand, that you're there for them. Jacob was 40 years old when Isaac touched him. So don't say that your children, they're grown up now and you can't touch them. You can't hold them. If you come to my home whenever we get together, we're hugging. My sons and my daughter-in-law and my grandson, it's a hug. And my wife and I, we decided that's what we were going to do, and we were going to let them know as often as we could that we love them. A touch means, let me give you, it may be insignificant, but it meant a lot to me. When my wife passed away, of course, I was grieving. And I remember Deacon Manning coming one day and just putting his hands on my shoulder. I remember that touch because it meant something at that time. And so let's not be afraid. You often see me touching and hugging people. It's important. I don't have any other ulterior motives. But it's important just to get close to people. And often you do that by just touching them. You can touch and you can say more in a touch than through words. So it's important. Fathers, today leave with a commitment to touch your child. to hug your child, boy or girl, no matter how young or how old they are. Deacon Cardi, how old is your eldest one? All right. You can still hug her. No. But let's do that. Number 2, the second. So we see that when Jacob came close, there was the touch. And when we go to the prodigal son, Sister Brown talked about the prodigal father, but we talk about the prodigal son. He had gone, but his father was looking out every day for his return. When his father saw him, the first thing the father did was to run to him, embrace him, kiss him, because he was just reconciling with him again. And so it's important. So fathers, how many, can I see the hands of the fathers in the house today? Could you raise your hand? Fathers, we have a lot. Touch your children. Hug your children. Bless your children. The next ingredient in the blessing was a spoken message of affection and love. Verse 27. As Isaac blesses his son, you read in the last part of verse 27, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field." Now, you don't go around telling your son and your daughter that they smell like a field or they smell like work. You want them as soon as they come to tell them, oh, go to the shower. And you know, sometimes, especially when children have played and they're so sweaty and all of that, you want them to go and get a shower. But you know what would be nice? If you hug them when they're smelling like play. Hug them when they're smelling sweaty. You can still come close to them. They don't have to sweeten up themselves for you. Receive them as they are at times. So here he was. You smell like a field. But you see, to Isaac was also an outdoor person. And so when he smelled the field, it brought back some wonderful memories of him. And there was, wow, you really smell good. I can now recall all my times out in the field and my hunting trips. So it was a phrase of affection. It was a compliment. It was a positive message that communicated love and affection. See, very often we parents, we want to criticize our children. And we always see the worst in them. And we tell them they're no good. And we tell them they can't do this. And we tell them all sorts of things. But we need to get to the point where we look beyond their faults. They will have faults. We have them too. Parents are not perfect. Sometimes we try to cover up. But children see right through us as parents, and they see right through us as adults, and they see right through us as wonderful, saved, and sanctified saints of God. They see our faults. So we just need to be open to them. Yes, I made a mistake. You're lazy, we tell them, oh, you're too fat, you need to go on a diet, or whatever. Words of criticism. We can give them constructive criticism. But it's more important to just give them words of love. Bless them. You're a good boy. You're a good girl. I'm glad that God gave you to me and allowed me to be your father. What a privilege it is. I'm glad you weren't born to the neighbors. But you're here And we're going to make it together. We're going to go together. When you fall, I'm going to be there to pick you up. I'm going to be able to guide you and direct you. You can trust me. A lot of children can't trust their parents. Can't trust their fathers, since it's Father's Day. Fathers say one thing and do another. Words that will communicate acceptance and love. This is what they need to hear. And begin today. Maybe you have not been doing it, but try it. You will see that it will make a difference in your relationship with your daughter or your relationship with your son. Ingredient number 1, touch. Ingredient number 2, affection and love spoken through words. Ingredient number 3, the attributing of a high value. Verse 28. May God give you of heaven's dew and of earth's riches an abundance of grain and new wine. He's saying here, you are special. So God is going to give you the best. He has the best for you. And so I'm asking God, because you are so special, you deserve the best. I'm asking you to bless Him, to bless you with the best. We are constantly saying we have to teach our children and build up their self-esteem, and they need to have a positive self-image. It is important. And so we need to tell it to them, show it to them, let them know that we value them. Value them above other things. How often do we value the car above our child? Fathers. You see fathers and men cleaning their cars. Have you ever seen how they do that? Spend so much time, the car has to be polished and clean, while your son or your daughter, they're somewhere else. How about TV? When you're looking at TV, go to your mother, go to your room, do something, go read a book. We tell them because we are so busy with our own activities that we don't want to have time for them. Put aside the paper, turn off the TV, look your child in the eye and talk to her, talk to him. That communicates value, letting them know that they're special. You're worth something. You're worth more than the car. You're worth more than the game. You're worth more than this TV program. You are extremely valuable to my family. That's why I want to spend time with you. That's why I want to go out with you. That's why we want to do some things together. Talk to your child. Lastly, the fourth ingredient. Did you write them down? Number 1, a meaningful touch. Number 2, words of affection spoken in love. Number 3, let them know they're valuable, highly valuable to you. And number 4, the picturing of a glorious future. He says, many nations serve you, verse 29, and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. Isaac here is helping to raise the sights of his son. He says, you're going to be a ruler over nations. You're going to be somebody. You're going to make it in life. You have what it takes. Go for it. I'm behind you 100%. Help them to raise their vision that they can be more than they think they can be.